Hey guys, I'm Justin with Legato Financial Group. Our firm is passionate about helping educate consumers, which is why we're powering the Gaining Interest podcast. The podcast of quick conversations with industry experts on topics that you want to know about, from sports to dining to healthcare and automotive, and really everything in between. It's hosted by one of the greatest local personalities that I've met, that's John Ramsey.
I'll tell you why I love this podcast, because it's all about community. We used to call it water cooler talk, and that no longer exists. But if it's interesting to you, it's interesting to us. We encourage you to tell your friends. As Justin mentioned, we're going to talk about everything under the sun. We will be gaining interest, and we appreciate you watching. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial. We welcome you in. And, you know, if you love music, and who doesn't, then you're probably looking forward to the 2 weeks in September for Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life, Bigger and Better Than Ever. Let's take a look behind the curtain. With me now is Doris Sims, who is the Senior Vice President of Business Development for Danny Wimmer Presents, and Mr. Chris Blandford. Chris works with Kroger and is also the Bourbon Experience Curator. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, first of all, this is real. There is a love affair between Louisville and Danny Wimmer Presents. And I say this because people are so passionate. These events have become so big. Doris, tell us a little bit about the history, if you would.
Okay, sure. So Danny Wimmer actually came to Louisville, Kentucky to start a bourbon. And during his he was exploring, he started to fall in love with the community because everybody he talked to, they were so friendly. And he's like, calls Danny Hayes and said, Danny, I feel like we need to have a festival here. And Danny Hayes, who's our CEO, said, Louisville? What's Louisville?
Did he say, where's Louisville?
Yeah, they had no idea because they honestly, they're in LA, so they really didn't know a lot about Louisville. And so Danny actually met with Danny Wimmer, went to the mayor's office. And the mayor's office, they're thinking, this metal festival, with Rob Zombie and Five Finger Death Punch and Ozzy Osbourne. We don't know if we want this type of crowd. And so they sent it over to the Convention and Visitors Bureau where I was working. And I usually got the kind of strange groups, like figure out what this is about. Well, the funny thing is Danny Wimmer Presents, I call my son, and because I'm like, wait a minute, he goes to rock festivals. And he said, Mom, you've been buying tickets to their festival in Columbus for the last 5 or 6 years. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is legitimate because this is like kids, our children who are spending money. They're staying in a hotel room. They are eating out at restaurants. They're buying art. So I knew it was legitimate. And we started working together, and Marty Storch, who works with me in the office but formerly worked for the city, helped them find the perfect location at that time, which was Champions Park. And 2014 was the first Louder Than Life, 36,000 attendees over 2 days. And it was at that time called the Whiskey, Food, and I totally forgot.
Remember
you
that.
know what I'm talking
Okay,
about?
it's
It's like a
evolved.
weird
Oh my gosh.
name.
Yeah, it's
and-
evolved from 36,000 people.
Yes. So and it was great from the start.
I love hearing this. You gave me a lot of gems there, and we're going to circle back to some of those, including economic development, which is huge for Louisville. But something that really stuck out that you just said that I did not know, so I'm going to defer here to Chris. So Danny Wimmer,
I know the answer.
I think you
I'll
will.
tell you that.
She mentioned that Danny Wimmer has a passion for bourbon. Okay, so you're a bourbon expert. How is he? Does he know his stuff? Does he know his stuff?
He is pretty good. I will tell you, he was a little green the first time we saw him. First time we went him, he was a little green. He has become very experienced. He likes to ask for a lot of things that are absolutely impossible to get. So yes,
So he knows bourbon now. Yeah.
he knows bourbon now. There's definitely no doubt about it now. I think maybe when he was here that first time, he's cutting his teeth and he's learning it. But he
was a
definitely
vodka
involved.
drinker.
Was he a straight vodka drinker?
Danny and Danny both liked vodka. I think Danny preferred Jack Daniels at that point, and since then he's definitely expanded.
Yeah,
his
he
palate.
has
Stepped up.
And Jack Daniels is even still a big part of our festival too. I mean, you can't have a whiskey festival without Jack Daniels.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that, because sometimes you think, okay, Bourbon and Beyond, Louisville being known for bourbon, the Bourbon Trail, et cetera, all these tours. It's real. The association is real. It's not just a cute name.
No.
The Bourbon Association, and that's where Chris comes in here. So Doris, tell us, you mentioned the original name was whiskey,
Yes.
and now it's moved to bourbon. But
Yes.
that relationship is important. It's not just an association by name, it's an association both on the business side of it and the enjoyment side of bourbon
Right.
and music together, right?
Well, and it was whiskey, I just remembered, whiskey and gourmet man food, because the demo of our crowd back then was men in their 20s. And now these men have grown up. But yes, well, some of them have grown up.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Let's get back to it.
So we had, they had obviously Jack Daniels was a big partner, still is, but they had a bourbon bar at that point. So we really started to engage with the bourbons, and the bourbons found out we were buying so many cases of bourbon at that point that it became like, okay, this festival really means something not only to the community and to its fans, but to the bourbon world, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Fred Minnick got involved shortly after that, a real close friend of mine, and he got us involved in bourbon
Yeah, Fred Minnick, I have to say, he really helped to get Bourbon and Beyond off the ground, because we just didn't have those connections with the distilleries and the master distillers. So Fred really started that process. And he was just kind of starting out too.
Yeah.
And Danny, I think it was a mutual growth. Fred helped us. Danny helped his growth. He was our original bourbon curator, and now he's talent.
So it was a win-win
yeah.
for both sides.
I got to tell you, John, we were actually, Fred Minnick was a friend of mine from a little pass world, and we were out in Bardstown, Kentucky, clearly. I mean, he's out there because of bourbon. So we're passing in a Kroger, and I walk, I was like, oh man, what's going on? And he's telling me about this like new thing called Bourbon and Beyond. I was like, that sounds really cool. And that's kind of how Kroger started. We started very small just to kind of see what it was like. Shortly after that, a rainstorm came in, and I was like, well, that's probably the last time we'll probably ever do anything. And then all of a sudden it's grown up to be, we've been major sponsors, contributors. We're giving back to the community.
Yes.
It's incredible.
I can see where you are key here, Chris, in that because of your association with Kroger and your love for bourbon and knowing distillers, et cetera, the connections that you have help that side, the seminars, the cooking demonstrations, everything with bourbon, which makes this thing even more interesting and more really personal to Louisville, because there is a love for bourbon in our heritage, and you guys share that now, and I love hearing that because I love Louisville, and I love hearing that the Dannys love it here. I know, Doris, you're a big part of that. Your background. You were the perfect person, I think, to really launch this here in Louisville in that the connections you have. Obviously, Danny Wimmer, they're moving from city to city, based out of LA, and they needed someone here. Tell me about your background.
So I was with Louisville Tourism, worked there for 31 years, retired for 28 days. And
That was quick.
Danny flew me to LA. They were like, you can't retire. We need you. And I'm like, okay, your team is like 20 years old, and I know nothing about music festivals other than just enjoying them. And they really wanted that level of maturity, and also my background. I could work with CVBs in other cities, work with city and state government, and probably my biggest skill is just connecting the dots. And I have so many friends in this community and develop relationships. People trust me, where you get somebody, just a LA team coming to you, people tend to be a little hesitant, and I could kind of help just connect those dots.
And you've done that. I've watched you in action.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I don't know how you do it, because the hustle and bustle of how many people, just throw out a number for Pearl Jam. When they came in town, how many people did you have out there?
So we had over 40,000. That was, Pearl Jam was our biggest night. I think it was 42,000.
One night.
One night. And that was our biggest. Then last year, last year, Zach Bryan beat that record by 20,000. We were over 60,000 for Zach Bryan. And I mean, we're just going to continue to grow year over year.
Let's talk about then the enjoyment side of this. Okay, music makes you feel something. Bourbon as well. That's a nice warm feeling. So I think the association is legit. I love it. But how do you guys curate, and we talk about curating bourbon and the itinerary there, but to curate the lineup? Because I have noticed that it's done there's a method to the madness.
There is.
Tell me about that.
Well, and I'm not as familiar with it, but we have the most awesome head of talent, Dale Williams. And he really orchestrates it all. He has a team of folks who work with him, but it is a balance, and we keep growing. Wimmer wants more and more bands, and Dale brings it to fruition. And, it's a matter of the relationships we have with the agents and the managers, honestly, are more meaningful to us and more impactful than the relationships with the artists, because they're the ones making the decisions on how they're being routed, during their tours. And so it's just, Dale has a great relationship with every single talent agency, management company. And again, he surprises me every time he brings it. And it's not just our headliners, it's deep.
It's the deep in between.
Yes. And I want to talk about those too. This year, everyone is excited about both lineups, Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life. And I think for these to be a success to the level they have, partnerships are important with Kroger, with companies like Kroger. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about the decision for Kroger. I'm sure you're approached quite a bit by a lot of different events, festivals. Kroger, can you get involved? And you do. If something positive is going on, I give Kroger credit. With that being said, this was one you guys were committed to and has paid dividends in terms of awareness and really bonding with the community. Talk about that decision.
I'll say that the biggest thing that we learned when we did this, we were the first grocery store to ever partner with a music festival.
Yes.
Because it is. From Kroger, you have to look at it that way. It's like, it's a big demographic. Is it the right thing to do? And that was something that we went back, I guess 5-6 years ago, it was back and forth of like, is that the right thing to do? And, that trust part of Doris really is where that came from. I got introduced to Danny Wimmer and all of them, just like you said, there's a bunch of LA guys coming into Kentucky. We want to make sure Bourbon's treated right. And Kroger got involved, and we said that, it's all of our demographic. It's an all ages show. It's everybody's invited. We've had hip hop music sometimes to classic rock. Everyone's there. So that's our customer, Kroger.
Yes.
And
so
we had to
go out and show up.
We had to prove that there was an ROI. That's what Chris said. He goes, we got to make it make sense. And partnering, really focused on the wine and spirit store, I think made a difference.
Yeah.
And then it was the whole thing with the barrel picks, because, when you do the barrel, and I'll let you talk about that more, but we're selling these barrel selects on site. But if we don't sell them, Chris is able to sell them in the stores. So it works out. Talk about that a little bit.
We had a beautiful partnership where we go through. So we will select anywhere from, 13 to 17 single barrels from all across the state, Jack Daniels as well. And they're sold at my mini bar, the Chris's Pick mini bar, right next to the stage. So people can actually go and actually taste these incredible single barrels that are just for the festival, named after Bourbon and Beyond. And we named for Jack Daniels. We do some for Louder Than Life. And then the cool thing is we split some of those with the festival, and then the others can be purchased in all these surrounding stores here in Louisville and Lexington. So people can still have that piece of Bourbon and Beyond, just and bring it back home and drink it.
Wow.
Right?
It is very cool. I know Mayor Greenberg is in love with Danny Wimmer Presents.
Yes.
Because I've been involved in meetings. Doris, you've been there. Chris, you've been there. The economic impact.
Yes.
The good that it does for the city. We talk a lot about it, and because of your background in tourism, you're very familiar with the importance of heads in beds, spending money at restaurants,
Yes.
coming in here and buying art, buying bourbon, whatever the case may be. Economic impact has been huge. I was at a meeting, they said bigger than Derby now because it's 2 weekends and hotels are packed, and these folks spend money.
Yes.
When Doris told me bigger than Derby 5 years ago, I was like, brother, I don't know if that's true.
And I will say, Derby is big, obviously, and it's in May. We're the alternative in the fall, because here, we've got the best horse racing event in the world happening in May. Now we have the largest festival experience in September. And, for the hotels, I'll have to say, it is bigger for them because there's 2 weekends, 8 days of, people coming in. And for the bourbons, we're buying cases and cases, and then people are tasting these bourbons and they go to Kroger and buy the bottles. So it's just the impact. The distilleries are sold out, the tours. They're eating in the restaurants. The restaurants are, they're at the festival all day, but they are coming in, eating breakfast in the morning. Before the festival starts, they're at the restaurants. In the evenings, they're there. So, you could see our fans throughout the community and even the airport. So 75 70% of our fans come from outside of Louisville. And surprisingly, it is a very busy time for the airport. And we work with the airport on a welcome program, and the amount of fans that come in there, I'm thinking we might be second to Derby with the airport too. I need to clarify that.
It's really incredible. And of course, a lot of success. It continues, and I'm looking forward to the future. But let's talk about the enjoyment side. We talked about bourbon. You're an expert there, but both of you are experts too when it comes to music now.
Yes.
I think a lot of it I think everyone, you know, like I said, music makes you feel something, but you guys really know your stuff. Let's talk about the lineups this year.
Yes.
Bourbon and Beyond, Louder Than Life, which is, I think, fair to say, heavy metal.
Yes.
But you know what I have found before, and I don't mean to jump around here.
That's okay.
It's my attention deficit. I apologize. But
Me too, John.
And we're following.
But I think the misconception that the Louder Than Life heavy metal folks are a rowdy crowd. Don't get me wrong, there may be a portion of that, but they're also the nicest people I've ever met.
100%. The hotels say that they are truly their best guests. They're very polite. They're very respectful. They're not drinking to the excess and fighting in the bars.
And very inclusive, like,
They're
come on in, I want to meet you.
They're very community oriented.
Yes.
And our bourbon, you know, our Bourbon and Beyond crowd, it's a little more mature demographic. They make a little more money. They're, you know, a little more settled. But our Louder Than Life crowd is catching up because these are these 20-year-olds who are now growing into, you know, young professionals, and they have families, and it's just really cool. But I agree, the Louder Than Life crowd,
It's so much fun.
they hang together. You know, they're exchanging bracelets. They're watching out for each
They
other.
invite me to sit down at their blanket. They don't know me. It's like,
Yes.
hey, come on, have a seat. I love that. I've never felt more welcome at a concert. And a lot of these folks, as you said, 75% of them don't know me from Adam, and they're just as nice as can be. So
And
listen,
They're
call
looking
them-
out for everybody out there too. Like,
Yes.
you know, I've been in those, like, right in those mosh pit areas, and if something happens, I mean, everybody's really just like, get this person taken care of, and it's really neat to see that. I mean,
It
you're in a
is.
big crowd of 40,000 people, someone falls down, and they push people out of the way for them. It's just really neat to see.
And they've created their own name, the Loudmouths.
Loudmouth.
yes,
And they have a special neon green color that you'll see them wearing. And the social media connections there, they not only connect during the festival, they're connecting year round online. So when they get to the festival, it's like a little reunion for them.
And what I love about it is you guys are a well-oiled machine, Danny Wimmer Presents, but a lot of this was grassroots. Like you said, the loudmouths. People really embrace this concert, and now it's something everyone looks forward to. I want to get back to the lineup. So tell me about some of them that you're excited about. First of all, Bourbon and Beyond. Who are you looking forward to seeing?
So I'm looking forward, the Lumineers. Honestly, I'm like old school. I'm looking forward to Pat Benatar. I actually pulled out my old albums for Pat Benatar, and I forgot I even cut my hair short like her back in the 80s. I just wanted to be her. I'm looking forward to Foreigner. And then I'm not as familiar with Noah Kahan. I know he's really hot in country music right now, but
really hot.
I'm looking forward to that. And of course,
Sturgill Simpson.
our Kentucky boy, you know, you gotta love Sturgill. So, and we really try to make sure we're inclusive of our Kentucky talent that we have in the city. So that's who I'm looking
You
forward
had
to.
Tyler Childers last year. Another
Yeah,
Kentucky
Tyler
boy.
Childers is awesome. I am a big fan. There's a bunch of 90s acts in there this year, which is really cool, like Marcy Playground, the Gin Blossoms,
Yes.
the Goo Goo Dolls. Like, I love that music, and I'm really
That's
pumped
our
to see it.
generational. You're 90s,
Oh yeah,
I'm 80s.
that's absolutely. And then Pat Benatar, when she told me Pat Benatar was coming, I was pretty freaking pumped.
And I know you just recently announced the Louder Than Life line.
Yes.
And I know a lot of folks are excited about that. So tell me some of the highlights there.
Well, so, you know, Slayer was supposed to play last year, and we got rained out on that day. And they really tried to come back the next day, and they just couldn't. So Dale Williams, our head of talent, really worked hard to get them to come back this year. And just knowing our fans are so excited that they're coming back, you know, we're a fan-first organization. You know, they're our bosses. So we want to make sure we're hearing what they want. And, you know, I feel like they do a good job of curating that.
I think Bring Me the Horizon's probably the biggest name on there right now. They haven't done a U.S. tour. The British band, they haven't done a U.S. tour in probably 3, maybe 4 years. And they, even before that, has not announced they were coming to the United States at all until that was announced. And that was what I heard so much about. Bad Omens also coming. Sleep Token, that's that anonymous band that's out there all wearing Deftones. I mean, Cypress Hill was on the list.
And we even have Knocked Loose, which is a band, they're local.
Yeah.
And they're from Oldham County, and they're back. I mean, it's just so much.
We got a party out there, John?
Yes, it is the wow factor. You know, you guys get excited, and it gets me excited about it. I can't wait. Let's talk about something you mentioned, and you touched upon, Chris, but the return on investment is important. Okay, Kroger, this does pay dividends.
Yeah.
You are associated with something that's very positive, that makes people feel good, that they look forward to. So for companies who may be considering a partnership, you would encourage that.
I cannot encourage it more, because there's so many avenues, and the creativeness from this team. Like when they came in, Doris could have just done anything like any other partnership, like, hey, here's a couple bucks or so and pop up a tent and walk away. And we've done that in many festivals before, hand out flyers and that. But the creativity of let's find the right thing, and that's how we have come up with. We've kind of toyed. I'm gonna steal Danny's because I really like it. It's called educatement.
Yes.
And it's about educating the consumer, but having a lot of fun doing it. So we can incorporate that into our stages with different products, different brands, getting chefs to cook with different brands. There's no reason why, if you're a local company, that you don't want to be a part of this incredible.
It's a lot like Derby in that regard.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. There's a price level for everybody, and if not, just talk to them. We can find the right thing for you.
I love hearing that.
And Danny is really, it's about the experiences on site. So we don't want just somebody in a booth handing out flyers. We really want to incorporate them into an experience. Kroger is the Kroger Big Bourbon Bar because it makes sense. And now they're going to be a sponsor of the Bourbon Stage because it makes sense. The Bourbon and Culinary Stage. Yes.
Yeah. And have some chefs cook with some Kroger product this year.
Yes. So it's just, we're finding even more value for Kroger. And because you are one of our biggest partners, we want to make sure that we're taking good care of them, so they're here forever. And
to just throw up on that, Kentucky Proud, just exactly what we're saying. So Kentucky Proud's been the sponsor. Doris called me immediately and was like, hey, Kentucky Proud's doing this. How can we incorporate them into some of the culinary panels and bourbon panels? Done. It's just a phone call.
Danny, what I love is Danny Wimmer says it starts with the farmer. And we started working closely with the Department of Ag. Who thinks about that? But it does start with the farmers. So Kentucky Proud, featuring those local products, featuring,
local
having them on site, utilizing local chefs. It's such a cool thing. And the fact that Danny is focused on it, and he's not from Kentucky, but he believes in that. And they've been a great partner and continue to be.
We go from farm to fork to rock and roll.
Yes.
It's all covered there.
Yes.
This, I'm excited about, and something I think that is important to folks who are watching Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial. The safety factor. You cannot swing a guitar without seeing a police officer who's very friendly, who's just making sure that everything is cool. EMS is on site. That's something, too, that I think sometimes people worry about getting in a crowd, but I've never felt more comfortable, more safe. That's important to you.
More so than the talent, Danny Wimmer is all about safety. We start planning for safety as soon as we leave for the next year. We constantly evaluate what we're doing, how we can do it better. We know that anything can happen, and we had it in 2018. We had floods, and it became an unsafe environment. And, we had to make the decision to not continue the festival the next day and then even the next weekend. But it was all about keeping our fans safe. We work closely with LMPD. They are absolutely wonderful to work with Jody Myman, who heads up the Emergency Management Agency. He and his team are very instrumental to keeping our fans safe. Anything can happen. You hear about these things that happen at festivals. We want to be prepared if there is an incident, that we're able to get fans out safely and keep them home.
Just thinking the water stations and stuff.
Yes.
When that first festival started, I think there was probably one little water station. It's pretty big, but learn from the mistakes. They're like, hey, we need more and more. And I think last year, I mean, you didn't have to walk very far to get the water. It's 100 degrees outside and everywhere. I mean, there was never a line anymore.
No.
And
Louisville Water Company is a great partner. I mean, honestly, I tell people our water is the best. Don't you think?
I agree.
Absolutely
I mean, it
agree.
is the best. So Louisville Water stepped up and helped us sponsor our water stations so that our fans weren't passing out in the heat. We wanted to make sure we had enough water, so that
And I've been to many festivals, and sometimes waiting for water can be unbelievable.
I don't want to mention the competition, but there are some of them that has been their demise.
Yes.
Not the case. And I think, again, partnerships and return on investments, that's truly a win-win, because we talk about how delicious the water is here in Louisville, and I believe it is true. Well, you know what? By being at Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life, they're raising that awareness from people around the country who go, wow, this is good.
Yes.
So that's, again, another win-win. Let's talk about personal experiences.
Let's do it.
You mentioned the flood year. I tell you, it's one of my better memories because I remember Sheryl Crow, Lenny Kravitz. It was raining like crazy, but I was out there soaked, and I loved it.
Was too. I was like pouring down rain, and I was like right up at the stage watching.
Music does that, right?
Oh,
you take your mind off, and it's like, I'm right here. I am dialed in. And the performers, I think they kind of like, hey, I've got a different atmosphere. Let's bring it. And they seem to do that. But your personal favorite memory, Doris, you've been there since the beginning. What do you like?
Oh, there's so many memories. And this is going to be weird, but Wayne Newton, what a charming
That may be a little weird. That may be a little weird, but
I
he is
know.
talented.
He was so cool. He's such a charming guy, and I had the pleasure of meeting him probably 20 years ago. And there is a photo of me and him together, and I was helping them get their hotel rooms and just get situated on site. And his wife is also very lovely. And I showed the picture, and she said that Wayne says he remembers you, and you still look just as beautiful today as you did then. I'm like, he's such a charmer. I mean, that was great.
You are
No,
beautiful.
he doesn't, but that's amazing.
I mean,
That's
Way
cool.
to go, Wayne.
I know, he was so
cool.
good. And then really the first Louder Than Life, Kid Rock, he's up there, and I've always enjoyed Kid Rock's music, but I got to be up there.
He's an entertainer, isn't he?
I think that's why I lost my hearing partially, but he gives it his all on stage. Brandy Carlisle.
Oh, beautiful.
That just
She's so good.
just touches my heart listening to her music. There's just so many special memories.
How about you, Chris?
I think I have two the most. I would say the very first time, so I took over hosting, I guess this will be my 5th year. The very first time walking on stage to host my very first panel that I've ever done. It was terrifying, but it's amazing.
Oh, you're good at it.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I think I've gotten better at it over the years. And then I would say last year is probably the coolest one I've ever done. It's the largest crowd I ever talked to. I brought Jim Gaffigan here with me.
He was so
And
good.
I'd say we had 4,000 or 5,000 people wrapped around the stage just to watch me and Jim drink whiskey and talk. And like I look at stuff like that and I'm like, is this even adding value to people? But people seem to like us. Let's just having fun conversations and talking about his time in Kentucky. And
Jim has bourbon.
He does have a bourbon.
I think that's a cool thing to talk about too, is these artists who have bourbon brands. So they're promoting their bourbon while they're here. And like Slipknot.
Slipknot has come and done store signings before. Yes. We've done cool things with Metallica before. Man, who else? Ian Somerhalder and Paul Wesley from Brothers Bond.
Adorable.
Has done multiple, and they've actually been to Bourbon and Beyond with me twice now.
Yes.
It's just what it touches. It touches so much stuff.
Yeah, it's like I said, a lot of this grassroots, the interest in bourbon. Hey, I want to create my own brand, my own. That's fabulous. I have to tell you my own personal, and I've got a lot of them, but had a really great memory. Red Hot Chili Peppers. My sons and I share the passion for them, so we enjoyed that together. Just watching them together and watch my sons jumping up and down and getting so excited. It was just beautiful. But all the memories are good, and there's so many acts that I look forward to. Let's talk about the vision. Where do we go from here? I mean, it's been bigger and better every year. What's the vision, Doris?
So, Danny came in once we created Bourbon and Beyond. And I will say that started with Mayor Greg Fisher. He had this whole concept of bourbonism and really wanted to do a bourbon festival, have the city do it. And we brought DWP in, and we decided, a lot of times people aren't coming just for the bourbon, but the music is the gateway to the bourbon. So then they start to fall in love with it. So, that started there. And once we had 2 festivals, Danny really started to talk about that South by Southwest vision that they had of, back-to-back weekends of festivals, with programming in between, programming before and after. We'd love to have a conference and a trade show around all spirits, not just bourbon, pretty much every
2 weeks of amazing activities around the city.
And getting out into the community. What we do with the mayor's office, and Mayor Greenberg has been also wonderfully supportive. But, the mayor's 5K, like how cool is that? We have a 5K that goes around the expo center just outside our festival site.
With music and the whole 9 yards.
The mayor's brunch, the bourbon and brunch.
Yeah, well, we started last year.
In Nulu and Germantown. It's us being able to impact the surrounding community just as much as what we're doing on site.
So that will grow.
That will continue to grow.
So as I listen to a playlist that is going to be curated from this year's guests from Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life. Okay, Chris, one quick recommendation before we let you go. I'm listening to Sturgill Simpson, which I do love his music. He's kind of a crossover, a little bit of country. He did a new bluegrass album, but then he's also very contemporary as well. What bourbon do you recommend I sip while I listen to Sturgill?
Good question. Honestly, I would probably do Elijah Craig 18 year because you get a little bit of that oakiness, the oldness, that Kentucky to it. But then once it kind of goes, well, it really dissipates because it's about 90, I think it's 92, 96 proof. So it's a nice light. So I think that Elijah Craig 18 years.
There you go. I love me some Michter's. I'm a Michter's guy.
I'm a Michter's guy too. Oh, I'm
Good stuff.
equal opportunity when it comes to all whiskey, my
And
friend.
he didn't miss a beat on that one either. He knows his stuff.
He does know his stuff. It's impressive. I bet you have quite the collection.
I got a couple bottles.
Yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed this so much. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial, and we appreciate that. And we appreciate you watching. Now you know a little bit, as I said, behind the curtain, what happens at Bourbon and Beyond, Louder Than Life, and Danny Wimmer Presents. I want to thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
so much.
John, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I enjoyed the conversation, but can't wait till September.
We're going to have fun.
We're going to have a good time.
We will see you there, whether it be Bourbon and Beyond or Louder Than Life. We'll see you there. Tickets still available, but you better hurry, right?
Better hurry. VIP will sell out first. So you better get online, buy those tickets. We're selling very well right now. So, yeah.
And in
come
April, I
enjoy.
think we're announcing some culinary lineups.
Yes.
Okay, good.
As a
So
matter of fact, good catch. In April, we will be announcing our bourbon and culinary stage lineup, and we've got some special surprises there.
Good. So more to come. So once
Yes.
again, get those tickets now, and I will see you there. Hey, we'll enjoy music together, and maybe a little sifter of bourbon as well. So again, thank you for joining us on Gaining Interest. Legato Financial Group, thank you, and thank you for listening.